The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. When Jesus saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. By now it was already late, and his disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already very late. Dismiss them so they can go to the surrounding farms and villages and buy themselves something to eat." He said to them in reply, "Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, "Are we to buy 200 days' wages worth of food and give it to them to eat?" He asked them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they had found out, they said, 5 loaves and 2 fish. So he gave orders to have them sit down in groups on the green grass. Then people took their places in rows by hundreds and by 50s. Then taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up 12 wicker baskets full of fragments and what was left of the fish. Those who ate the loaves and the fish were 5,000 men. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It's been said that at the end of St. John's life, the only phrase he said, and he just repeated it over and over, was, "Love one another, love one another." I mean, he said it so much like it annoyed people. And I guess he boiled the gospel down to that. Kind of see it in his first reading. He says, or the first reading, the first letter of St. John, "Beloved, let us love one another because love is of God." So he drilled that into the people he was around. Love one another. And it reminds me also of our Lord's, the second greatest commandment that he gave, which was, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there's definitely relevance to it. And I try to kind of, what's that actually look like? Because it's kind of vague. Love one another. All right. I guess if you were to kind of boil it down, at least in my mind, where I'm at recently, is compassion. Like, compassion is loving your neighbor as yourself, because it puts yourself in your neighbor's shoes. It sympathizes with him to a healthy degree. So we see that in our gospel today. Jesus, his heart was moved with pity for them. In this case, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, so he taught them, but then he also fed them. So he had a compassionate heart. He saw things from their perspective. He sympathized with them and was able to bless them, serve their needs. He is compassion embodied, like our Lord does it all right. But I think to even a deeper degree, the man was so compassionate towards us in our pity that he not only put himself in our shoes, but he put himself in our flesh. Like, he took on our sinful nature, sympathized with us, and then was able to redeem it. So compassion runs deep in the gospel in our Lord's life, and I think it would behoove us to learn the same of how to be compassionate towards one another, to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, to put ourselves in their shoes. I think there is great wisdom there, and that's what true love is. True love is a giving of itself, but it doesn't just give randomly. It sees life from the other's perspective too. So anyway, we can learn something from St. John, who said, "Children, let us love one another." But ultimately, we can learn something from Jesus. Both of them had compassionate hearts.